Welcome to another AI pattern recognition deep dive.
Today, we're really getting into something fascinating. It's a piece of critical synthesis looking at generative AI and, well, how it's shaking up creative expression.
Right, and the core idea isn't just, making things faster or easier, though it does that too.
No, exactly. The sources we're looking at argue it's much bigger, like a fundamental rewrite of how creation even happens. They call it an evolutionary way of making things.
That's the heart of it. And our job today is to unpack that. This synthesis puts forward a pretty disruptive thesis. GenAI isn't just a tool, it lets an individual basically collapse that whole traditional media pipeline. Production, consumption, all in one.
The sheer scale and speed, that's what makes it feel less like just new tech and more like a seismic shift, culturally and economically.
Yeah, definitely. And this central concept they use to frame it all is the solipsistic studio.
Yeah, that phrase really sticks, doesn't it? Solipsism. The idea that only your own mind is sure to exist. Here, it's applied to creativity.
Meaning a totally self-contained loop. You, the creator, are also the writer, director, performer, even the audience, just you.
A completely personalized creative bubble, making stuff purely for yourself, for that intrinsic kick.
And, it sounds maybe a bit sci-fi or just philosophical, but we need to ground it in the tech itself.
Right. It's not just a concept.
No. Modern GenAI systems can actually do this. They aren't just copying things cleverly. They generate genuinely original content, visuals, music, scripts, you name it, based on learning incredibly complex patterns from vast amounts of data.
And that ability lets them bypass steps that used to need, tons of resources.
Exactly. Which brings us to this idea of the collapse of scarcity. That's really the engine driving the solipsistic studio.
Historically, yeah, big creative projects like films or games, they were walled off. You needed serious money.
Millions sometimes. For cameras, sets, post-production, all that gear.
And not just money, but people. Huge crews, specialized skills, actors, editors, sound mixers, hundreds of them sometimes.
That's the key. Those resources were inherently scarce. Which meant, almost always, your creation had to make money back. It needed a market.
It had to be commercial.
Right. But GenAI, it simulates those scarce things. It can generate a photorealistic scene that might have cost a fortune in location scouting or CGI.
Or it can synthesize performances, right? So you don't need to schedule actual actors for every single shot.
Precisely. And the most striking example of that simulation has to be the digital twin.
Okay, let's talk about that. This isn't just like a deep fake filter.
No, it's much deeper, higher fidelity. The sources describe training a model on everything an actor has done, every film, voice recording, motion capture.
Wow, so it learns not just the voice, but their little tics, the way they walk.
Exactly. Subtle inflections, gestures, gait, micro-expressions. It builds a comprehensive, instructable, synthetic version of that performer.
My high-fidelity digital puppet, almost.
Yeah, you could put it that way. Yeah. And the implication is huge. Once you have this twin, the creator in their solipsistic studio can direct their personal actor to do exactly what they need.
So the actor's value, their presence, extends beyond their physical body, beyond even their lifetime potentially.
That's the potential, yeah. The scarcity of their time, their physical presence, it gets digitally bypassed.
I mean, that feels a little unsettling, honestly, but I can see how if you're the creator alone in your studio, it becomes purely rational.
Right. Because when those huge barriers, hiring teams, booking locations, paying for labor when they basically evaporate, the reason for creating can shift completely.
It stops being about will this sell?
And becomes entirely about, is this what I want to make?
Yeah.
It moves from market viability to pure conceptual realization.
So creating just for your own entertainment, for that deep personal satisfaction, that actually becomes a logical, achievable goal.
Totally logical. The friction, the cost, the logistics, it just dissolves.
Yeah.
And what's left is pure intent, mediated only by your ideas and the AI's power. It's a tectonic shift, like you said.
Okay, so if that traditional way of making things, the hands-on skill, is getting bypassed, and we're in this self-contained creative space, the source material calls this an evolutionary way of creating. That sounds like more than just standard machine learning. What does evolutionary actually mean here in terms of the computation?
That's a really crucial distinction, because it gets at where the novelty comes from. We hear machine learning, ML, all the time, right?
Yeah, like for recommendations or recognizing images.
Exactly. ML is mostly about algorithms learning from data to get better at a specific task, improving accuracy, finding patterns faster, getting closer to a known target. Optimization, essentially.
Okay, so ML refines things based on what's already there.
Pretty much. But the real engine behind this evolutionary way of creating, the thing that generates genuinely new, unexpected stuff, is evolutionary computation, or EC.
EC.
EC isn't just about finding a known answer more efficiently. It's designed to discover truly novel solutions, especially in these massive complex search spaces where traditional methods would just get lost. It's built for discovery, not just refinement.
How does it discover, though? What's the algorithm actually doing? Is it just random?
Not just random, no. It's inspired directly by biological evolution, natural selection.
Okay.
So imagine the system starts with a whole population of potential solutions, maybe thousands of slightly different musical phrases or visual concepts.
Right.
Then processes kick in, selection, mutation, reproduction. The creator sets the goal, the fitness landscape, like I want a sound that's eerie but also hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
The system picks the fittest solutions, the ones closest to the goal. It then introduces random changes, that's mutation. And it combines elements of the best ones to create a new generation reproduction.
And it just keeps doing that, cycle after cycle.
Yep. Iteratively refining the population. Over many generations, you don't just get optimization, you can get completely novel results that meet the criteria in surprising ways.
So if I ask for, say, a cyberpunk alleyway, it doesn't just find the best reference image. It might generate hundreds of attempts, kill off the ones that don't fit, randomly tweak the lighting or architecture in the survivors, mix them up.
Exactly. It accelerates past simple combinations. It actively explores the possibility space. And this is vital because, as the sources stress, the creative search space is often highly deceptive.
Deceptive? What does that mean? Why can't normal optimization handle it?
Okay, think about composing music. You're tweaking a melody, trying to make it more impactful. You make small changes, and it gets a bit better, a bit better. You reach a point where any small change makes it worse, a local peak of quality.
Right. You think you've nailed it.
But maybe the real way to make it truly amazing isn't tweaking that melody. Maybe it involves completely rethinking the harmony in a different section of the piece. To get to that much better solution, that higher peak, you first have to make things worse, go downhill, by changing the structure fundamentally.
Ah, okay. So the system gets stuck on the small hill because the path to the big mountain looks like a step backwards initially.
That's the perfect analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional optimization gets trapped in those local optimizers. It only takes steps that offer immediate improvement. EC gets around this by often rewarding not just fitness, but also novelty. It might incorporate novelty searches that actively favor solutions different from what it's found before, even if they aren't immediately better according to the main goal.
So it forces itself to jump out of those ruts and explore weird new territory.
Exactly. It jumps across the valleys. And that's how it finds genuinely superior, often unexpected solutions that a simple optimizer would miss entirely.
Wow. Okay, that completely changes the role of the creator then, doesn't it? If the AI is handling this complex evolutionary discovery.
Right. You're not the one painstakingly executing each step. The source calls the creator the evolutionary architect.
I like that. So your job changes. How?
Your job is to define the struggle. You set the constraints, the ultimate goal, that fitness landscape we talked about. Your main skill becomes, well, the art of directed algorithmic mutation.
Meaning crafting the prompts, setting the criteria.
Exactly. Formulating sophisticated prompts, defining nuanced fitness criteria, essentially guiding this powerful, somewhat chaotic evolutionary search engine.
And this ties back to the individual, right? The sources argue this is how you start to understand your own talents.
Yes. If you can consistently set goals and prompts that guide the AI to create novel things that genuinely resonate with you, you're proving your value. Not through technical skill with a brush or camera, but through your conceptual clarity, your ability to articulate what you want in a way the algorithm can work with.
You prove you have the vision, even if you can't physically build it yourself.
The core talent shifts from the hand to the mind. It's about mastering conceptual command, knowing how to ask the right questions, the deep questions that unlock the AI's potential and steer that vast evolutionary process towards something genuinely new that fits your vision.
That makes a lot of sense. So if the talent is in the mind and the goal is this super personal creation, here's where it gets really wild. How does the tech achieve that perfect individualization? How can it make media that's so tailored it really only clicks for the person who asks?
Yeah, that deep personalization.
Yeah.
It comes from a feedback loop, a really tight self-reinforcing one.
Okay.
When you, as the creator, use these GenAI tools repeatedly, The system learns you. It watches what you like, what you reject, what prompts you repeat, what refinements you make.
It sees every little decision. Like if I generate an image but then spend ages tweaking the color in one corner, it notices that specific preference?
Precisely. It logs that. It weights it. The feedback is constant and internal to your process. It learns from your consumption habits within the tool, sure, but even more powerfully from your creative choices, successful prompts, failed prompts, the specific ways you try to fix things.
So by constantly generating stuff based on my unique history, the AI becomes an echo of my own tastes.
A very high-fidelity echo, yeah. It perpetually validates and reinforces your existing aesthetic, your narrative preferences, even your psychological patterns. It acts like a mirror reflecting your internal landscape.
Which would absolutely explain that feeling of true expression the sources mention. The output feels authentic because it's been shaped so directly by your internal structure without needing to compromise for anyone else.
It's the ultimate creative confirmation bias machine, maybe. But in a good way, for the individual creator, the end result feels intensely personal because it's been sculpted by your own feedback, fulfilling that need for self-affirmation through art.
Okay, let's get practical. What's in the Solipsistic toolkit? If you don't need a studio or crew, what do you need? Which algorithms?
Right, we can break down the key components. For writing, large language models, LLMs, do way more than just draft text.
Like dialogue, plot.
Yeah, generating complex dialogue, handling branching narratives based on your ideas, pacing stories according to your preferred rhythm. You can create personalized arcs that would be impossible to staff up for traditionally.
And visually. What replaces the cameras and artists?
Image generators, obviously. For getting unique visual concepts out instantly. No sketching, no rendering setup time. You think it, you see it.
And for motion, video, film.
That's where synthetic scene creation and those digital twins really come in. They eliminate enormous costs. Real locations, camera rigs, lighting setups, even the need for human actors in shot. All potentially replaced by prompt engineering and algorithmic direction.
So the Solipsistic Studio is where this personal production power meets perfectly tailored personal consumption. The creator is the audience.
Exactly. And because that financial and logistical friction is basically gone, the need to sell, the market imperative, it just vanishes.
Which is the big gain, right? Creation driven purely by your own internal value.
Purely intrinsic. Psychological satisfaction, conceptual realization. Unmediated by market demands or audience expectations. It's like radical artistic sovereignty.
But, and this feels like a big but, this leads straight into that paradox the sources raise, the paradox of solipsistic consumption.
Right.
If the whole point is to make stuff just for you without needing to care or even know what anyone else is creating, aren't you just cutting yourself off from, well, culture?
That's the risk, yeah. Art, historically, happens in conversation, doesn't it? Creators respond to each other, critique, build on things, parody. It relies on some kind of shared context, common references, forms people recognize.
A shared cultural dialogue.
Exactly. And if you retreat into this perfect mirror of the Solipsistic Studio, you risk losing that. You lose the challenge, the unexpected spark you get from bumping up against other people's ideas. It can become the ultimate echo chamber.
Because the system is just constantly feeding you back what it already knows you like.
Right. It constructs this perfectly comfortable aesthetic bubble around you, which feels good, sure, but comfort can lead to stagnation. Real creative growth often comes from that friction, from engaging with ideas that don't fit neatly, that force you to adapt and develop new ways of thinking.
So if the AI smooths away all that conceptual discomfort, where's the push to grow, to evolve your own taste?
That's the question.
Yeah.
And the long-term worry, the source's flag is, a potential erosion of common cultural touchstones.
If everyone's just making hyper-personalized stuff for themselves.
Does the idea of a shared culture, a recognizable canon of art, start to dissolve? Do we lose the common ground needed for even basic creative conversation?
That's a heavy thought. If your masterpiece is truly only for your eyes, what does it even mean in a broader sense?
Does it have cultural value beyond the personal? It's a serious question.
Especially since the tech itself is so powerful, so helpful. Which brings us right to that core tension. Augmentation versus atrophy. The sources are pretty clear there's a warning here about losing something important when creation becomes too easy.
Let's start with the positive side, the augmentation hypothesis. This is the dominant view, especially in academia. GenAI as an incredible enhancement tool.
Making things more efficient.
Massively efficient. It takes over the tedious, time-consuming stuff, complex rendering, background details, polishing drafts. This frees up your limited mental energy.
Your cognitive bandwidth.
Exactly. Instead of days wrestling with a technical glitch, you fix it with a better prompt in minutes. So that energy you saved, you can pour it into the big picture stuff.
Like complex plot structures, thematic depth, the overall vision.
Right. Focusing on the high-level conceptual challenges, knowing the AI can handle the grunt work, it accelerates your ability to explore and realize your core ideas.
Okay, that's the upside. But then there's the shadow. The creative muscle atrophy hypothesis. That sounds bad, like skills literally wasting away.
It's the inherent risk, the inhibitory potential of seamless automation. If you always rely on the AI for execution, you bypass the knowledge you gain from struggling yourself.
The tacit knowledge.
Yeah. Think about learning woodworking versus just telling a robot, build a chair. The robot makes a perfect chair, sure, but the person learning woodworking, they learn why joints fail, how wood grain matters. They develop this intuitive sense of structure that goes way beyond following instructions.
You learn through the resistance of the material.
Precisely. Creativity often sparks because you hit a wall, because the medium pushes back. A painter discovers new compositional tricks dealing with paint limits. A writer finds a unique voice wrestling with language.
So if GenAI removes all the significant resistance,
Then that personal realization that understanding your own talents might end up being kind of superficial. It relies on the AI's knowledge, not your own hard-won insights.
and the scary part is if the AI doesn't quite get it right, if it produces something that looks good but feels hollow,
You might not have the skills to fix it, or even the vocabulary to articulate what's wrong. If you never learned composition or pacing by doing it, how do you critique the AI's attempt?
you can't fix what you never learned how to break or build.
That's a great way to put it. You lose the ability to intervene effectively, which forces us to fundamentally rethink what talent even means now and what artistic sovereignty looks like.
Yeah, the definition of a true artist seems to be shifting dramatically away from technical skill handling paint, operating a camera, drafting by hand. Those are becoming simulated inputs.
The crucial talent becomes conceptual clarity, that algorithmic fluency we mentioned. Your most valuable asset is the ability to ask the right deep questions, to provide the nuanced meta-direction that guides the AI's evolutionary search, defining the fitness function for the unknown, basically.
Like with the digital twin idea,
Yeah.
being able to direct that synthetic performance conceptually is becoming more valuable than knowing how to physically film and edit it traditionally.
Exactly. The expertise moves upstream to commanding the generative power.
Your sovereignty, your authorship, isn't in the execution anymore. It's in the quality of your intellectual intervention, that unique, sophisticated prompt structure that sparked the whole thing. That's the original contribution.
Okay, let's try to pull these threads together.
Yeah.
We've seen how the creators experience the solipsistic studio, that feeling of true expression, is actually grounded in the real computational power of evolutionary computation. This isn't just a trend. It feels like a genuine paradigm shift.
Right. And for you, the creator navigating this, the reality is this constant push and pull, this dialectic. You have to keep balancing the amazing benefits of augmentation, the speed, the freedom, against those real risks of inhibition, of skill atrophy. That's the strategic tightrope walk ahead.
And if creation becomes so intensely personal, focused on the self, what happens to authorship? The sources really push on this. Who owns the output, even if it's just for you? Yet the IP question is massive, legally complex, and nowhere near sorted out, even for private use. But beyond the law, there's that authenticity question again.
Right. How true is your expression if the AI model itself learned from, the work of millions of other artists, maybe without compensation?
Your intent might be original, but the language the AI uses to express it was built from the collective past.
It's that mirror paradox again. It reflects you, but the mirror itself is made of everyone else's reflections.
Which is why the sources argue for distinguishing between authorship by intent versus authorship by execution. Since execution is automated, your claim to authorship, your sovereignty, has to be rooted in the intent, in demonstrating that your unique conceptual input, your prompt structure, was the necessary original trigger for that specific outcome.
So for creators trying to navigate this, trying to build their own solipsistic studio, but still be, a true artist, what's the game plan? What are the key strategies?
The material suggests three main things. First, prioritize conceptual mastery. That means constantly practicing algorithmic fluency. Get really good at formulating those sophisticated high-level directives. Focus on pushing the AI towards novel, unexpected results, not just polished versions of the obvious. That conceptual skill is your new measure of talent.
So less time fiddling with the final output, more time perfecting the input language.
That's the idea. Second, actively mitigate creative isolation. Don't get trapped in the echo chamber. You have to deliberately seek out external friction.
Meaning?
Engage with critique from others, and, maybe more importantly, set parameters that force the AI to explore ideas outside your comfort zone. Use it to challenge your own tastes, not just confirm them.
Like telling the AI, make something I probably won't like, but make it interesting.
Exactly. Ensure you're still growing through conceptual struggle. And third, rigorously define intentional authorship. Since execution is outsourced, you need to document your process. Show the originality of your prompts, your refinement choices, the specific ways you guided the search. Your creative capital is increasingly in the intellectual property of your process.
Okay. So where does this leave us? The overall picture seems to be the Solipsistic studio is probably going to become huge for private, personalized creation, unmatched self-expression, incredible efficiency.
For sure.
But staying a true artist in that world, that
Yeah.
takes constant conscious effort. Managing that tension between easy augmentation and the risk of atrophy. You have to stay the architect, not just become a passive user of the magic box.
Absolutely. And as these evolutionary algorithms get even more sophisticated, the Solipsistic Studio model will likely become the default for immediate, highly customized content. It's going to keep challenging our old ideas about shared art and market-driven creation.
Which brings us to our final thought for today, pulled straight from the sources we looked at. If creation becomes purely personal, if you're the only audience and your real talent lies in directing the AI, could it be that the true measure of your creative capital won't eventually be the artwork itself?
But rather, the proprietary code of your most effective prompts, your unique directive history.
If the conceptual prompt is the most valuable part, is the prompt the new masterpiece? Something to think about until our next deep dive.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
This is DigitView.